The Alpha is dying, the war is rising, and only one wolf stands between salvation and ruin. Royal Hearts, welcome to the Null Wolf's Curse, a story of power, sacrifice, and a love so tragic it will haunt you long after the final page. Kindly subscribe now, because every heartbeat counts. And hers may be the last. The floor gleamed under Evelyn's tired hands as she scrubbed the last stain from the polished wood of the packhouse hall. The grand chamber smelled of cedar and steel, strength and wealth woven into every stone of the Alpha's domain. But none of it belonged to her. She was invisible. The defective wolf. The one who never shifted. The overweight janitor who came out at night when everyone else had already gone to bed. From the shadows, whispers floated down the corridor. She froze, clutching her rag. Pathetic she still works here. The moon goddess must have been drunk when she made her. A wolf who can't shift isn't a wolf at all. The laughter cut sharper than any blade. Evelyn pressed her rag harder against the floor until her knuckles ached, her chest burning with humiliation. She was used to it. But tonight, it stung deeper. Because tonight was the pack meeting, where decisions that carved futures were being made, and she wasn't even allowed in the room. Still, her ears caught everything. Inside the chamber, Alpha Darius's voice rolled like thunder, commanding, sharp, yet fractured at the edges. The rival pack escalates again. They've poisoned the borders. 3 wolves already lost. We can't... He cut off. His tone faltered. Evelyn stiffened. Silence. Then a low growl. Not strong. Not steady. Broken. Her instincts screamed. Something was wrong. She edged closer to the meeting hall, peering from the crack in the door. Darius stood at the head of the long oak table, his broad frame trembling as if invisible chains bound him. His hands clenched against the wood, veins blackening under his skin. His wolf, feral, violent, was fighting to take over. Gasps erupted from the pack council. Alpha, what's happening to him? Is it another blackout? Chairs scraped back. Warriors moved, but none dared touch him. His breaths came ragged, his eyes flashing between amber and something else. Something toxic. Something wrong. Evelyn's own heartbeat thundered. She should run. She should stay hidden. She was no one. But her body wouldn't listen. Her feet moved closer. Her chest tightened with an ache she didn't understand. Then it happened. Darius collapsed. The sound cracked through the chamber like thunder. His eyes flew open as his body hit the floor, glowing pitch black, radiating with unnatural fury. The council shouted, panic spiraling. Wolves stumbled back. But Evelyn didn't. Her rag dropped from her trembling fingers. Her lungs seized. Every cell inside her screamed, "Go to him." And before she realized it, she was stepping out of the shadows, closer to the Alpha no one dared touch, drawn by an instinct she couldn't explain. The entire hall spun toward her. The janitor? What the hell is she doing here? But she didn't hear them. She saw only him. His body writhing, his chest heaving, his hands clawing the floor as if fighting a battle inside himself. Her breath caught. Why can't I look away? The glow in his eyes locked with hers for the briefest second. Black fire meeting brown. Something ancient stirred. And Evelyn, the useless, defective wolf who was supposed to be invisible, took another step forward. His body convulsed, shadows spilling from his mouth like smoke, and Evelyn reached a trembling hand toward him, pulled not by courage, but by fate itself. The council's shouts echoed like thunder. Wolves scattered from the table, warriors shifting half-formed in panic, but Evelyn's trembling hand didn't stop. Her breath caught as her palm pressed against Darius's burning skin. The moment her skin touched his chest, everything changed. The black smoke surging from his mouth froze in the air, then vanished, as though swallowed by the night. His veins, dark and swollen a moment ago, paled back to normal beneath her hand. His body, once thrashing like a beast in chains, stilled. The feral growl in his throat faded into silence, and for one impossible second, the Alpha looked peaceful. Gasps erupted around the chamber. What the? She touched him and he stopped. Impossible. Evelyn staggered back, ripping her hand away as though burned. Her chest heaved, eyes wide, horror gripping her bones. She wasn't supposed to be seen. She wasn't supposed to matter. And yet every gaze in the room seared into her like fire. Darius blinked, struggling to sit upright. His golden eyes cleared, darting from the floor to the shocked council to her. His stare locked on Evelyn like a predator scenting prey. Confusion. Fury. Something else she couldn't name. "Alpha, are you?" one beta began. Darius cut him off with a raised hand, his voice hoarse but commanding. "Leave us." The pack hesitated. Murmurs rippled, but no one disobeyed. One by one they filed out, though not without stealing glances at Evelyn. Whispers followed her like knives. "She did something." "No, she's nothing. Just a janitor." "Then how did he?" Evelyn backed into the shadows, trembling. She wanted to vanish, to scrub floors until her knees bled, to forget she ever stepped forward. But deep in her chest, under her fear, something pulsed. A terrifying instinct. A connection she didn't understand. When the last warrior shut the door, Darius stood fully, towering, unshaken. His eyes, once fractured, burned steady gold again. He looked alive, and he looked at her. She dropped her gaze, grabbed her rag from the floor, muttered, I'm sorry," and fled. That night, the pack house was silent. Evelyn scrubbed the same section of tile again and again, trying to erase the memory. She couldn't stop replaying it. The heat of his chest, the way the darkness vanished at her touch. Her pulse betrayed her hammering with something that felt too close to fate. No one would believe it. They'd call her insane. They already thought she was nothing. And maybe they were right. Still, her hands wouldn't stop shaking. The door slammed open. She gasped, rag slipping from her fingers. Darius stood there, filling the doorway like a storm in human form. Shadows clung to him, his presence too sharp, too heavy for the quiet room. He didn't blink, didn't look away. He crossed the space between them in 3 steps. Evelyn stumbled back until her shoulders hit the wall. His hand slammed beside her head, caging her in. His breath was hot, his eyes molten fire locked on hers. "What?" he growled, voice low, feral, dangerous. "Did you do to me?" The rag fell from Evelyn's hands, and for the first time in her life, she realized there was no escaping the Alpha's gaze, nor the secret her touch had awakened. The silence after his question hung heavier than chains. Evelyn's chest rose and fell too fast. Her back pressed flat against the wall as Darius's golden eyes bore into her. His voice, still raw from the blackout, was a growl edged with desperation. "What did you do to me?" I didn't do anything," she stammered, shaking her head, her hair falling into her face. You just stopped." His jaw tightened. His hand, still braced against the wall beside her, trembled ever so slightly. The Alpha didn't tremble, not unless something inside him was cracking. "Don't lie to me." For the first time, Evelyn saw something in his eyes that wasn't command or power. It was fear, and that terrified her more than his anger. Darius leaned closer, voice dropping into a whisper only she could hear. "My mind, it's slipping. I black out. I see things, memories that don't feel like mine. Voices, shadows. And then..." He paused, his throat working as though admitting it cost him. "I lose control. I could have killed them all. Until you touched me." Her stomach twisted. She wanted to tell him it was impossible, that she was just Evelyn, the defective wolf who couldn't shift, the overweight janitor no one respected. She wanted to believe it herself. "I don't have a gift," she said, almost a whisper. "I'm nothing." But when his hand moved closer, his body heat surrounding her, her skin betrayed her. Sparks prickled across her arms, her chest tightened, her breath caught, and before she could stop herself, her trembling fingers brushed against his wrist. and instantly, the tremor in his hand stilled. His shoulders dropped. His breathing evened. Darius's eyes widened, the fire inside them softening with something that made Evelyn's heart stutter. "You're lying," he murmured, voice rough. "You are something." Evelyn ripped her hand back, hugging herself. "No, please, don't look at me like that." But Darius was already stepping closer, as though her denial only pulled him deeper. And then the windows shattered. The pack house exploded with chaos, an acrid stench filling the air, burning throats and lungs. Wolves coughed and dropped to the ground, clutching their heads as strange scent bombs hissed across the floor. Evelyn's eyes burned, her chest tightening until she couldn't breathe. Darius staggered, one hand clawing at his temple, the golden glow in his eyes flashing black. "No," Evelyn gasped, choking on the toxins. Her instincts screamed louder than her fear. She stumbled forward, throwing herself in front of him, her palms pressed against his chest, desperate, reckless. And the poison died. The air around them shimmered as the acrid cloud vanished, pulled into her lungs and dissolved like smoke in the wind. Evelyn collapsed against him, coughing, but Darius caught her before she fell. His grip was iron, his eyes blazing not with blackness, but with a stunned clarity. The pack stared in horror and awe. Wolves who had been choking now breathed freely. The scent bombs hissed useless, already neutralized. Darius's arm locked protectively around her waist, his voice a low, furious snarl at the shadows outside. "They dare attack my house." Evelyn lifted her head, her lips trembling, realizing what she had just done. She had neutralized the poison itself. And Darius's gaze dropped to her, burning with one truth neither could deny anymore. She was the only thing standing between him and destruction. The silence in the pack house was deafening after the attack. Wolves still coughed, shaken, their eyes darting between their alpha and the overweight janitor cradled in his arms. Evelyn could feel their stares like knives, each one cutting deeper into the truth she didn't want anyone to see. But Darius's grip never loosened, his golden eyes locked onto hers, steady and clear, no trace of the black shadow that had tormented him moments ago. "You saved me again," he murmured, voice low enough only she could hear. Evelyn's lips parted, but before she could speak, the doors slammed open. Guards poured in, growling, demanding answers about the bombs. The chaos shifted, and Darius's mask snapped back into place, his alpha aura dominating the room, silencing all questions. But even as he gave orders, his hand lingered at her waist a second too long. Hours later, the pack house was quiet. Darius summoned her into his private quarters, the walls humming with his power. Evelyn stood awkwardly near the door, wringing her hands, wishing she could melt into the shadows. "Come here," Darius commanded. Her heart lurched. "Alpha, Come here." She obeyed, her step slow until she stood within arm's reach. His eyes searched hers, intense, unblinking. Then, suddenly, his hand shot out, gripping her wrist. Evelyn gasped. His golden eyes had begun to flicker black again, the shadows whispering at the edges. But as soon as her skin touched his, the darkness snapped away like smoke in a gale. His chest rose and fell, steady, calm. He released her, waited, then did it again. The rage flared, her touch cleared it, again and again. By the fourth time, Evelyn's breath shook, her whole body trembling. Darius's jaw clenched, his gaze burning into her. "It's you. It's always you." Her knees felt weak. She couldn't meet his eyes. She didn't want this power, didn't want to be near him, didn't want the whispers that would come. She was the pack's shame. Why should she be the Alpha's salvation? But outside that room, the whispers had already begun. The next morning, Evelyn scrubbed the pack house floors like always, but the weight of eyes on her was heavier than ever. Wolves leaned against the walls, smirking, their voices low, but sharp enough to cut. "Look at her. The fat one thinks she's important now. Alpha's pet, nothing more. She'll ruin him. Evelyn lowered her head, hands shaking as she gripped her mop. Her stomach twisted. She had lived her life invisible, and for the first time, being seen was so much worse. When she stepped outside to catch her breath, the air was cold, the sky heavy with clouds. She thought she was alone, until she felt someone behind her. The beta. His presence was colder than the wind, his eyes sharp and unforgiving. He stepped close, too close, his voice low and venomous. "You don't belong here, janitor. Whatever you think you are to him, you're not." "I don't," Evelyn's voice broke. "I don't want—" "Liar." The beta leaned down, his breath brushing her ear. His next words froze her blood. "Stay away from the Alpha, or we'll bury you where no one will ever find you." Evelyn staggered back against the wall, her heart pounding, torn between fear and the dangerous truth. Staying away from Darius might be impossible, because her touch was the only thing keeping him alive. The beta's warning still clung to Evelyn's skin like frostbite. "Stay away, or we'll bury you." The words echoed in her skull as she scrubbed the kitchen floors long past dawn, her hands raw and trembling. She tried to bury herself in silence, in routine, in the shadows where she belonged. But shadows could not stop war. That night, the hunt began. Wolves poured into the forest, their howls slicing through the cold air. Evelyn trailed behind with the cleanup crew, heart pounding, trying to avoid the Alpha's gaze. But the moment she saw him, Darius, golden eyes sharp as flame against the moonlight, her chest constricted. He was the Alpha, yet something in his movements was wrong, hesitant, heavy. The attack came without warning, a sharp hiss in the air, small black canisters landing in the underbrush. They burst open, releasing invisible clouds that slithered through the forest like poison. One by one, warriors stumbled, gasping, eyes rolling back as they collapsed onto the moss. Evelyn choked on the strange scent, bitter, metallic, almost sweet. Her vision blurred. Wolves fell around her like broken statues. Then she saw him. Darius staggered, claws digging into a tree trunk, his veins darkening, his golden eyes flickering black. Something inside her snapped. Instinct, not choice, drove her forward. "Alpha!" she cried, stumbling through the haze. She reached for him, hands shaking, and laid her palm against his chest. The effect was instant. The black veins recoiled, retreating beneath his skin. His breathing steadied, his claws retracted. The toxins around them thinned, as if the air itself bent to her will. Darius's golden eyes found hers, clear and burning. But this time, they weren't alone. Half a dozen warriors, weak but conscious, lifted their heads from the forest floor. Their eyes widened as they watched Evelyn, the janitor, the useless wolf who could not shift, holding the Alpha steady in her arms, her body trembling, her power undeniable. The forest was silent but for shallow breaths and stunned stares. Rumors didn't have to be spoken to be born. They ignited in every gaze, every whisper carried back to the packhouse before dawn. By morning, Evelyn could feel it. Eyes tracked her in the hallways. Conversations cut short when she entered. Curiosity sharpened into suspicion, suspicion into fear. At the long table in the council chamber, elders sat stiff and rigid, their gazes cold. Darius sat at the head, jaw locked, while Evelyn stood alone at the center of the room. The beta's voice cut through the silence, smug and sharp. She touches him, and the Alpha clears. She touches the air, and the toxins vanish. A wolf who cannot shift is not a wolf. She is something else, something dangerous. Murmurs rippled like wildfire. Dangerous. Unnatural. A defect. Evelyn's chest tightened. She wanted to speak, to explain, to beg, but her throat closed like a trap. She had lived invisible her whole life, and now she wished she could disappear again. Then the eldest councilwoman's voice struck like a hammer. "We will investigate. If she is a threat to the pack, she must be eliminated." Evelyn's knees buckled as guards moved closer, their shadows swallowing her. Across the table, Darius's eyes burned gold, his jaw tight, but he said nothing. And in the silence, she realized, even the Alpha's protection might not save her now. The council chamber echoed with a single damning word: eliminate. Guards stepped forward, their boots striking stone like war drums. Evelyn's breath caught in her chest. Her oversized frame felt heavier than ever, her awkwardness magnified under every watchful eye. She braced herself for chains, but a voice cut through the silence, low and commanding. No one touches her. Every head turned. Darius rose from his seat at the head of the table, his golden eyes burning like twin suns. His presence filled the chamber, towering, suffocating. He didn't look at Evelyn. He looked at the council, daring them to defy him. She is mine to protect. Any hand that moves against her moves against me. The guards froze. Whispers rippled through the chamber. Evelyn's chest tightened, not with relief but with dread. His defense would only sharpen the hatred around her. The trial stretched into the night. One by one, wolves stepped forward to testify. She's not like us. Too big to run with the pack. She's cursed. A Null Wolf. Their words struck harder than claws. Evelyn kept her eyes down, shoulders trembling under the weight of shame. She had been invisible all her life. Now their cruelty painted her as spectacle. From the corner of the room, Leora leaned casually against a pillar, her eyes sharp with satisfaction. Beautiful, poised, with perfect raven-black hair, she radiated everything Evelyn was not. She smiled each time Evelyn flinched. When the trial adjourned, Evelyn fled to the solitude of the servant quarters. She scrubbed at her skin in the wash basin until it burned, trying to scrape off the memory of their words. Yet no matter how she tried to shrink, the sound of Darius's voice lingered in her chest, fierce and unyielding. But she wasn't the only one who hadn't forgotten. In the shadows of the pack house, Leora moved silently, a small vial clutched in her hand. Its contents shimmered faintly, the same toxin that had felled warriors in the forest. Her lips curved in a cruel smile. Let's see if the defective wolf survives this. She poured it carefully into the straw bedding of Evelyn's cot, the scent subtle but sharp. Then she slipped away, her footsteps vanishing into silence. Evelyn returned exhausted, collapsing onto the cot without thought. Her chest ached, her eyes swollen from tears. She buried her face in the bedding, breathing deeply. And nothing happened. The air prickled faintly, like static, but the toxin dissipated the moment it touched her skin. She exhaled, unaware of the danger, her oversized frame curling into uneasy sleep. Across the courtyard, Leora waited, arms folded, lips pursed in anticipation. She imagined Evelyn gasping, choking, being carried out lifeless by dawn. But as the hours dragged on, nothing. At sunrise, Evelyn walked out of her quarters unharmed, hair tangled, eyes hollow, but alive. Gasps followed her. Warriors exchanged wary glances, and from the shadows, Leora's triumphant smirk faltered, cracking into something darker. In the bright morning light, Evelyn stood unknowingly marked. Her survival whispered through the pack like wildfire. The toxins can't touch her. She's not one of us. And as Darius appeared at her side, his gaze lingering too long, too protective, the hatred in the crowd sharpened into something new, envy that burned like fire. The courtyard was still humming with whispers. The toxins can't touch her. She's not one of us. Eyes followed Evelyn like knives as she walked. Her oversized frame stooped as though she could make herself smaller. But no matter how much she tried, she couldn't disappear. At her side, Alpha Darius moved with a storm in his step, his gaze fixed only on her. Every wolf bowed as he passed, but Evelyn kept her eyes on the ground. Their proximity was its own scandal. When the doors of his private chambers slammed shut behind them, silence pressed down like a weight. Evelyn's heart thudded painfully. She didn't belong here. among the polished stone, the scent of pine and fire, the throne-like chair looming at the room's center. Darius turned on her, his eyes sharp, but not cruel. They saw it. They all saw it. The toxins didn't touch you. She hesitated, twisting her hands, her nails digging into her palms. I don't know why. I'm not like the others. Her voice cracked. Maybe I'm not defective. Maybe I'm something else. Something worse. The word worse tasted like blood on her tongue. For a long moment, Darius only studied her. His golden eyes softened, his shoulders lowering just enough for the alpha mask to slip. He stepped closer, so close she could feel his heat. You are not worse, he said, his tone low, certain. You are the reason I'm still alive. Her breath caught. No one had ever spoken of her like that. Not as a burden, not as a mistake, but as something necessary. The bond between them shifted, taut like a pulled string. Evelyn's throat tightened. You're the alpha. I'm just... She gestured to herself, her too large frame, her clumsy hands, her servant's clothes. You're far above me. Darius's jaw clenched. He leaned in, his voice a growl against her ear. Do not tell me what I am above. Her heart thundered. For the first time, she dared to look at him fully. The weight of his gaze nearly undid her, raw, unguarded, as though he wanted to claim something forbidden. The moonlight spilling through the high windows bathed them both in silver. Slowly, as though pulled by gravity, he leaned closer. Her lips parted, her pulse racing. But just as their breaths mingled, his body stiffened. His hand slammed against the wall beside her head, caging her in. His golden eyes flickered black. His chest heaved. No, Evelyn whispered, horror striking her. Darius's other hand gripped her shoulder, pinning her hard against the wall. His growl deepened, feral, as though he no longer saw her, only prey. His strength pressed against her ribs, suffocating. She gasped, trembling between terror and the memory of almost being kissed. The alpha's voice was gone. What loomed over her now was raw, uncontrollable violence. Evelyn's back hits the stone wall as Darius snarls inches from her throat, his eyes swallowed by black, his control lost. And for the first time she realizes, her touch may not only save him, it may be the only thing stopping him from killing her. The wall dug into Evelyn's spine, cold stone biting through her thin clothes. Darius's breath came ragged and hot against her cheek, his hand a steel band on her shoulder. His golden eyes flickered black. The alpha lost somewhere inside the storm of his mind. His growl vibrated through her bones, primal and hungry. Her throat tightened. This is it. He doesn't see me anymore. He'll crush me. Desperation clawed at her. With trembling fingers, she lifted her hand and pressed it against his chest, right over his hammering heart. Heat seared through her palm, a violent current that almost flung her backward. Darius! Stop, she whispered, her voice breaking. For a breathless second, nothing changed. Then, like thunder breaking apart a storm, his body jolted. The black drained from his eyes, golden light blazing back to life. His grip loosened, his chest heaving as if he had just surfaced from drowning. He stumbled back a step, staring at her hand still against his chest. His voice was raw, scraped with fear. You stopped it again. Evelyn's knees threatened to buckle, her lungs burned, every part of her screamed to run, but her hand remained pressed to him as though pulled by an invisible thread. The silence was shattered by the sound of the heavy doors crashing open. Warriors stormed in, weapons drawn, eyes widening at the sight. The alpha pinning the oversized, useless janitor against the wall like a forbidden lover. Gasps, murmurs, accusations already being born in the shadows. Darius's gaze snapped to them, his alpha dominance radiating like a storm. He straightened, towering, his voice a lethal command. Leave, now. The wolves bowed, but whispers echoed as they retreated. Evelyn shrank under their glares, shame burning her skin. When the doors shut, Darius turned back to her. He moved closer, his voice low and unwavering. "From this moment, you stay close to me, no matter what they say." Evelyn flinched. "If I do, they'll hate me even more. They'll hate you for protecting me." A dark smile flickered across his lips. "Let them try." For the first time, she saw the full force of him, not just the alpha, but the monster lurking beneath his skin, the beast that only she could chain, and it terrified her. That night, the pack gathered in the central courtyard. Torches blazed. Whispers spread like wildfire about what they had seen, about the janitor who touched their alpha and lived. Evelyn stood on the edge of the crowd, hidden in the shadows, heart pounding. Then a voice, smooth and venomous, cut through the night. "We know about your broken alpha." Gasps silenced the courtyard. Across the firelit square, the rival alpha stepped forward, his eyes glittering like knives, his voice carried like a curse. "And his defective mate." The word struck like a blow. Evelyn froze, breath stolen from her chest. The entire pack turned toward her. The torches flared, the rival alpha's smile sharp as he pointed across the courtyard, directly at Evelyn. The courtyard held its breath. Torches hissed in the night air, their flames painting jagged shadows across stone walls. The rival alpha's accusation still hung above the crowd like smoke. His defective mate. Dozens of eyes cut toward Evelyn. Hatred, disgust, pity. She wanted to melt into the earth. Her hands trembled at her sides, nails biting into her palms. But before anyone could speak, Darius's voice thundered like a war drum. "Enough." The air shifted. Wolves dropped their gazes instinctively, their bodies bowing under his dominance. Darius's golden eyes swept the crowd cold and sharp. He stepped forward, placing himself directly between Evelyn and the rival alpha, his massive frame shielding her. "Not another word," he growled. The rival alpha only smirked, satisfied that his venom had sunk deep, before fading back into the darkness, leaving chaos behind. Whispers followed Evelyn for days. The word mate clung to her like a curse. Wherever she went, doors shut, conversations hushed. She scrubbed floors with her head down, heart aching, until one night, the beta's voice broke the silence. Evelyn froze in the shadows of the storage hall, the scent of dust and metal filling her lungs. She hadn't meant to eavesdrop. She had just been gathering cleaning supplies when she heard it. Low, urgent, dangerous. "Yes, tonight. His weakness is worsening. The toxins will finish him soon, the pack will crumble." Her blood turned to ice. It was the beta. Darius's right hand. The wolf sworn to protect him. And he wasn't speaking to himself. A faint crackle gave away the device in his hand. A communicator smuggled from the rival pack. Evelyn clutched the mop so tightly her knuckles ached. Betrayal dripped from every syllable she overheard. It wasn't just war pressing against their gates, it was rot from within. Then her heel scraped the stone. The sound was soft, but it was enough. The beta spun, eyes narrowing. In a heartbeat he was on her, hand slamming her against the wall, claws grazing her throat. "You shouldn't have heard that." Her breath hitched. She thrashed, but he was stronger, his grip bruising. Within moments, warriors rushed in, summoned by his roar. "She's the traitor," the beta declared, his voice a righteous snarl. "Caught conspiring with our enemies." The courtyard filled again. Wolves dragging her forward, jeers and shouts echoing. Evelyn's knees hit stone as a blade was pressed to her neck. Her heart hammered, terror choking her voice. I didn't." "Silence," the beta spat, raising his hand. "By pack law, she dies for treason." The crowd roared approval. Some spat at her. Some looked away, ashamed but silent. Evelyn's chest heaved as the blade lifted higher. Then, a growl tore through the night, primal and earth-shaking. The crowd split as Darius stormed forward, fury blazing in his golden eyes. He ripped the blade from the warrior's hand and flung it aside. His voice was a vow, sharp enough to cut steel. "She is under my protection." The courtyard fell deathly still. Wolves glanced at one another, fear rippling through the crowd. Even the beta's face faltered for a fraction of a second before masking itself again. Evelyn's breath caught. Her heart thundered as she stared up at Darius, her alpha, her impossible salvation. Darius pulled her to her feet, his hand firm around hers, and announced for all to hear, "From this night forward, touch her, and you answer to me." The gasps of the pack echoed in the silence, their fear now sharpened into something far more dangerous: resentment. The courtyard silence still hung heavy in the night air. Darius's voice, "Touch her and you answer to me," echoed like a thunderclap across every heart. He held Evelyn's hand in plain view, his grip steady, his stance unyielding. The flames of the torches caught the golden edges of his eyes, daring anyone to defy him. Evelyn stood frozen at his side, breath shallow, blood roaring in her ears, his warmth pressed against her palm. She had been invisible all her life, a ghost who swept floors, mopped bloodstains, and swallowed insults. But now, every gaze in the courtyard was on her. Fear, rage, envy. It burned her skin. Yet beneath it all, Darius's grip anchored her. When he finally released her, the mark of his touch lingered like fire beneath her skin. That night, as she lay awake in her tiny, dimly lit room, Evelyn pressed trembling fingers to her lips, trying to calm the storm inside. Why did his nearness ignite something inside her? Something that wasn't just gratitude or fear, but yearning. Days passed. The pack whispered louder. The defective wolf, they hissed. The alpha's weakness. She felt their hatred like knives, but each time Darius appeared, that strange current pulled at her again. He didn't avoid her. He didn't scorn her. Instead, he watched her, eyes tracing her every movement, as though searching for something only she carried. It terrified her. It thrilled her. One night, training grounds erupted with alarms. Rivals had breached the borders. Warriors clashed under a blood-red moon. Darius stood at the front lines, his body already rippling with the beginning of a shift. Wolves tore into the enemy, claws flashing, teeth glinting. Evelyn should have hidden. She should have run. But her chest ached with the bond that tethered her to him. She couldn't leave. Then, he faltered. A shudder ripped through his body mid-shift. His claws extended, but his bones twisted violently. His golden eyes rolled back, replaced with inky black voids. His roar broke into a choking gasp as he collapsed to his knees. "No, no, not now." Evelyn's cry cut through the chaos. The enemy surged forward, sensing weakness. Warriors tried to hold the line, but panic spread like wildfire. Evelyn sprinted through the battlefield, stumbling past snapping jaws and swinging blades until she fell at Darius's side. His chest heaved violently. Shadows crawled beneath his skin. His mouth foamed, lips trembling as though fighting invisible chains. "Stay back!" a soldier barked, yanking her arm. But she tore free. Her instincts screamed louder than fear. She grabbed his face in both hands, ignoring the growls and jeers, ignoring the poison pouring off him like smoke. His skin seared her palms, but she didn't let go. "Come back," she whispered desperately, forehead pressed to his. "Come back to me, Darius." For a heartbeat, nothing. His body convulsed, his claws carving furrows into the dirt. The black swallowed his golden eyes whole. And then, without thinking, Evelyn kissed him. The world exploded in silence. It wasn't a kiss of romance. It was a kiss of survival, of desperation, of something primal pulling them together. The moment her lips touched his, the shadows recoiled. His body jolted, golden light flashing behind his eyes like lightning tearing through storm clouds. The earth shuddered. The toxins fled his veins as though burned away. Darius gasped violently, hands shooting up to grip her wrists. His eyes, glowing bright gold again, locked onto hers, alive, anchored, saved. Around them wolves froze. The battlefield stilled. Whispers rippled in stunned waves. Evelyn pulled back, lips trembling, breathless. Her heart pounded as she realized what had just happened. Darius's voice was hoarse, broken but unyielding as he clutched her hand with newfound intensity. "You're not defective, Evelyn. You're mine." The battlefield erupted into chaos, not from the enemy, but from their own pack, as gasps and growls of outrage split the night. The battlefield hung frozen in the aftermath of Evelyn's desperate kiss. Darius's words, "You're mine," still echoed across the bloodied clearing like a vow carved in stone. The pack recoiled in disbelief. Whispers fractured into snarls. The defective wolf? Our alpha chooses her? The outrage simmered hotter than the enemy's claws. Yet Darius's hand never left hers, his golden eyes a shield against every jeer. But before defiance could split them further, the night itself shifted. A foul wind rolled across the field, thick and unnatural, curling into the lungs of every wolf present. Torches flickered. Wolves staggered, coughing, choking, claws clutching at throats as shadows writhed in the air. "The black scent," someone rasped, voice strangled in horror. It hit like a wave. Warriors collapsed mid-shift, their bodies convulsing. Eyes bulged, veins darkened, froth spilled from their lips. The rival pack had unleashed something new, something worse. "Get back!" Darius roared, dragging Evelyn behind him. Yet the same sickness clawed at his chest, his breaths rasping into wheezes. His claws dug into the dirt as he fought to remain upright. "No," Evelyn whispered, tears stinging her eyes as she saw wolves dropping one by one, their howls turning to gurgled silence. "Not again. I can't let this happen again." The black haze crept toward her too, but instead of suffocating, it sank into her skin. Her oversized frame trembled violently, her pulse hammering like war drums. The toxin slithered inside her, but unlike the others, she didn't collapse. She absorbed it. Her veins glowed faintly beneath her skin, silver threads burning like molten fire. Her breath came sharp, ragged. Wolves around her suddenly gasped back to life, their seizures ceasing, their lungs clearing as the poison left them, drained into her. Gasps broke through the chaos. "It's her. She's doing it." But the relief was short-lived. Evelyn's body convulsed, her back arching as though lightning coursed through her bones. Silver fire licked across her arms and neck, glowing so bright even the moon dimmed against it. Her scream tore through the clearing, raw and primal. Darius caught her before she fell, his arms closing around her as if he could shield her from her own body. Her skin seared against his touch, but he didn't let go. "Evelyn, look at me. Breathe." She did. But each breath only ignited more silver, crawling up her throat, her face, her very eyes. And in the terrified silence of warriors and rivals alike, one truth settled like a blade over their heads. This power wasn't a gift. It was a death sentence. Evelyn's tear-streaked face turned toward Darius as silver fire engulfed her chest. Her voice was a trembling whisper torn between terror and love. "Darius, it's killing me." The silver light surged brighter, threatening to consume her whole, while above them, the full moon bled into black. The night was deathly still except for Evelyn's ragged breaths. Silver fire still flickered across her chest as Darius held her tighter, refusing to let go. Around them, wolves, warriors, healers, elders, stood frozen, their eyes wide with horror at the sight of the girl they once mocked as useless, now blazing like something not of their world. "She's absorbing it," a voice whispered. "She's cursed." "She saved us," another argued. The murmurs thickened into shouts until the air itself split with the sound of 100 voices turning on one another. The battlefield had become a courtroom under the bleeding moon. Darius rose slowly, Evelyn still trembling in his arms. His gaze burned like molten gold, sweeping across his pack. "She saved you all. Every last one of you would be dead right now if it weren't for her. You will not lay a finger on her." But his declaration did not silence the uproar. A warrior stepped forward, his face twisted with fear. "She isn't one of us. Look at her. Look at what she's becoming. That silver fire, it's unnatural. It's poison waiting to kill us all." A second wolf, A mother who had seen her son fall and rise again in Evelyn's glow spat back. Unnatural? My boy breathes because of her. You'd call her a curse when she's the only reason you're standing? Growls erupted, claws unsheathed. The pack itself fractured before their alpha's eyes, loyalty and fear splitting them down the middle. The council elders were summoned. Within the great hall, torchlight painted long shadows over stone walls as Evelyn, bandaged but still glowing faintly under her skin, sat silently beside Darius. Whispers circled the chamber like vultures. She cannot control it. She is not a wolf. She is a weapon. If she loses control, she destroys us all. The High Elder rose, robes dragging against the stone, his voice heavy with the weight of centuries. The question is not whether she saved us. The question is whether she should be allowed to live among us. A creature we do not understand cannot be trusted. Evelyn's chest tightened. Each word felt like a blade cutting deeper. Darius stepped forward, fists clenched. She is mine to protect. Even if it kills us all? The elder asked, his eyes sharp as steel. The chamber roared with divided voices, half crying for her blood, half crying for her crown. Evelyn's oversized body, once only a source of shame, now stood at the center of a choice that could shatter the pack. And then, silence. The oldest council member, her voice cracked with age but sharp as broken glass, leaned on her staff and spoke the words that froze the chamber. She is not a wolf. She's something older. The torches flickered violently as if the shadows themselves recoiled from the truth. Evelyn's heart stopped in her chest, her gaze shooting to Darius, whose golden eyes widened with a fear he tried to hide. Evelyn whispered, trembling, "If I'm not a wolf, then what am I?" The elder's answer fell like thunder in the silence. "You are the Null, the end of all bonds." The council chamber was still vibrating from the elder's words. "You are the Null, the end of all bonds." Evelyn's heart slammed in her chest. Her oversized frame felt suddenly small beneath the weight of every stare. "The end of bonds?" she whispered, the words dry on her tongue. The High Elder turned, robes whispering across the stone floor. "There is a place where the truth lies written, a truth buried even alphas dare not speak." His gaze flicked to Darius, sharp, warning. But if she seeks it, she cannot turn back. That night, sleepless and trembling, Evelyn followed the elder's directions to the archives below the pack house. Torches burned low, the air heavy with dust and secrets. Darius came too, refusing to let her face whatever lay ahead alone. Their footsteps echoed against walls carved with runes, older than the packs themselves. Shelves of brittle scrolls and leather-bound tomes whispered of forgotten times. Evelyn's hands shook as she pulled one cracked journal free. Its cover bore a symbol that mirrored the faint silver glow still pulsing beneath her skin. She opened it, and her world shattered again. The text spoke of Null Wolves, rare, cursed, and revered. Born once a century, they were not shapeshifters but absorbers, vessels of balance meant to cleanse the corruption that plagued alpha bloodlines. But their power came with a cruel decree. A Null exists only to give their life. They are born to burn so others may live. Images sketched in the margins showed wolves with flames of silver instead of fur, dissolving into ash as corrupted alphas were freed from madness. Her breath caught. "So that's what I am." Her throat tightened as she pressed her palm against her chest, feeling the faint shimmer beneath her skin. "I wasn't born defective. I was born disposable." Darius's jaw clenched as he took the book from her trembling hands. His eyes scanned the words, and for the first time, even his unshakable composure cracked. His fingers curled until the ancient pages nearly tore. "Don't," he muttered, voice low and violent. "Don't you dare believe this." Tears slipped down Evelyn's cheeks, silent and unrelenting. "It's written, Darius. Every Null Wolf dies for the alpha they save, And you, her voice broke. You're the alpha. The torches flickered as silence pressed heavy between them. Darius stepped closer, gripping her shoulders with hands that trembled for the first time. His golden eyes burned with something between fury and despair. No, he growled, shaking his head like a man rejecting fate itself. You are not a weapon. You are not a sacrifice. His voice dropped, rough and desperate. You're mine. But even as he said it, the truth cut through him like a blade. He had seen the signs. His blackouts, his seizures, the corruption tightening its claws around his mind. And her touch, the way it stripped the shadows from him like peeling poison from his veins. The realization hit him with brutal force. Evelyn wasn't simply his salvation. She was his executioner. Darius staggered back, chest heaving, the ancient book trembling in his hands. His voice was barely a whisper, but Evelyn heard every word as if it were carved into her bones. You were born to die for me. The night air was heavy with tension, the moon spilling silver across the packhouse rooftops. Darius sat on the edge of Evelyn's cot, jaw tight, eyes stormy with the knowledge of the truth. He reached for her, and the air between them sizzled with the magnetic pull neither could deny. You don't understand, Evelyn whispered, voice trembling. If what the texts say is true, I could kill you just by being near. Darius shook his head violently, stepping closer, his hand brushing her cheek. I don't care. I've survived centuries, battled enemies, survived blood and poison, but I will not survive losing you. Their gazes locked. Every fear, every frustration, every longing collided in that moment. The world outside the walls didn't exist, only the electric tension, the undeniable pull between Protector and Null, filled the room. And then Darius kissed her, soft at first, testing, trembling, then deep and desperate. Evelyn responded instinctively, every suppressed emotion pouring into the contact. Her hands clutched his shoulders, his arms circled her tightly. Time fractured. The centuries of loneliness, the agony of seeing him suffer, the raw awareness of her own fatal gift, all melted into the heat of the stolen moment. They collapsed onto the bed, tangled in a fierce, intimate embrace, the pack's whispered judgments and looming prophecy falling away. For one night, the world belonged only to them. But dawn waits for no love story. Evelyn stirred first, eyelids heavy with exhaustion, skin tingling from the silver energy pulsing beneath her flesh. She had felt the surge when Darius had pressed against her, his heartbeat mingling with her own power, but she didn't expect the aftermath. Slowly, horror crept into her vision. Darius lay unnaturally still, chest rising shallowly, pale. The silver glow that marked her power leaked from her fingers into him, a toxic tide she hadn't yet learned to control. Darius. Her voice trembled, breaking. She shook him gently, then harder, panic rising like wildfire. Wake! Please wake! His golden eyes fluttered open, but a jagged pain twisted his features. Evelyn's stomach sank. The very power that saved him so often was now threatening to consume him entirely. The prophecy she had tried to ignore loomed over them, heavier than ever. The Null was meant to protect, but at a cost that had never been optional. And now that cost was bleeding into the alpha she loved. Evelyn's hands hovered over Darius, trembling, as a whisper of fate slid through the room. The Null must choose, love or survival. The cold iron bars bit into Evelyn's skin as she leaned against the cage, every muscle trembling with exhaustion. Her fingers were raw from gripping the bars, her oversized, once-mocked body pulsing faintly with a silver glow. Each heartbeat carried the echo of Darius's shallow breathing from the night before, a memory that both sustained and tormented her. The rival alpha, Kyle, circled her like a predator, savoring his prey. You have power most wolves can't even dream of, he hissed, his voice low and dangerous. And you've been keeping it a secret, until now. Evelyn's heart pounded. She had survived the pack's whispers, the council's scrutiny, even Darius's near death from her own uncontrolled power. But Cale was different. He had no hesitation, no code, only ambition. He had studied her, learned how her touch healed, and how her energy burned, and now he wanted to weaponize it. "Try to use your gift on me," he sneered, "and you'll burn yourself out completely. Your alpha will never find you in time." Her jaw tightened. The fear that had gripped her for months transformed into something sharper: defiance. She had always been underestimated, ignored, labeled defective. But Kyle didn't know what it meant to underestimate a null. She closed her eyes, attempting to suppress the trembling, to control the faint silver light spilling from her veins. Every ounce of energy she held, every pulse of her unnatural gift, screamed to reach Darius. Across miles, in the quiet of his chamber, Darius tensed, eyes snapping open. A sharp, piercing scream cut through the shadows, a scream that only he could hear, a scream that carried Evelyn's essence across the bond. The alpha staggered to his feet, golden eyes flaring with instinctive fury and fear. "Evelyn," he growled, his voice echoing through the pack house and into the surrounding forest. The bond flared violently, linking them across space, the tension almost palpable, as if the world itself shuddered in recognition of their connection. Kyle froze, sensing the shift in energy, realizing that whatever plan he had now hung by the thinnest of threads. The faint glow emanating from Evelyn's skin intensified, reacting to Darius's rage and desperation, threatening to spiral beyond her control. Evelyn's breaths came fast, each inhale a mix of pain and determination. She knew she couldn't hold back. Not now. Not ever again. Miles apart, Darius clenched his fists as the bond pulled him with magnetic force toward her. The screen would fade to black on Evelyn's glowing eyes, silver light bursting from her chest as she screamed, "Da, Rayas!" The forest trembled beneath Darius's furious steps, his alpha instinct screaming with every heartbeat. Branches tore underfoot, wolves scattering in his wake as he barreled toward the rival pack's fortress. His golden eyes glowed, a storm of anger and fear for Evelyn, whose scream still echoed through the bond, searing itself into his mind. Inside the stronghold, Evelyn's body quivered, silver veins glowing faintly beneath her skin. The rival pack's final toxin release hissed into the air, a chemical miasma designed to topple every wolf within miles. Her oversized, powerful frame had been mocked, dismissed, and overlooked. But now, it was all she had to save those she loved. She raised trembling hands, feeling the toxin pulse against her skin, threatening to burn her from the inside. Her every breath was agony, yet instinct took over. She wove her power carefully, a delicate balance between life and death, absorbing the poison, neutralizing it before it could reach the Alpha's warriors. Wolves dropped unconscious around her, but slowly, the tide shifted. Miles away, Darius could feel it, the bond stretching taut, vibrating with her effort, screaming at him, begging him to arrive. He surged forward, every ounce of strength carrying him faster, cutting through the enemy lines, claws unsheathed, his pack rallying behind him. Evelyn's vision blurred. Sweat dripped into her eyes, her chest heaving as silver light flickered dangerously. She could feel her life force draining, every heartbeat a countdown. But she held on, focusing on the Alpha, on the pack, on survival itself. Finally, Darius reached the perimeter. He crashed through the doors, overwhelming Cale's guards with brutal precision. His eyes found Evelyn immediately, her silhouette glowing faintly amidst the chaos, every ounce of her pain mirrored in his expression. "Evelyn!" he roared, barreling toward her. She turned, reaching weakly, her silver eyes shining with both triumph and fear. But the effort had been too much. Her legs gave out, her arms trembled. Her body collapsed onto the cold stone floor, the glow fading rapidly as the last of the toxin left the air. The pack fell silent, witnessing the Null Wolf, their once mocked janitor, their secret savior, lying motionless, her pulse barely a whisper. Darius cradled her, heart pounding in terror. Her chest rose and fell so slowly, so precariously, that every second felt like an eternity. "Stay with me. Please, stay with me." Evelyn's body lay limp in Darius's arms, her oversized frame trembling with the faintest pulse. Her silver-streaked skin glimmered faintly under the moonlight filtering through the shattered ceiling, her labored breaths shallow, barely audible. Around them, the battlefield was silent, the rival pack scattered, wolves either unconscious or too fearful to move. Every warrior's gaze was fixed on her, on the Null Wolf who had sacrificed everything to save them all. Darius's hands shook violently as he pressed her closer, cradling her against his chest. "Stay with me, Evelyn. You hear me? You're not leaving me. Not like this," he growled, his voice a raw mixture of fear and fury. His golden eyes glowed fiercely, reflecting both anger at the rival pack and helpless terror for the girl who had become everything to him. He fell to his knees, holding her tightly, and for the first time, he did what no alpha had ever done. He prayed. Not to the moon, not to the pack, but to the moon goddess herself. "I offer my strength, my bond, my life if it will keep her alive," he whispered, his voice hoarse, trembling with desperation. Sparks of energy from the bond flickered between them, visible threads connecting their souls in a dangerous, unstable shimmer. A gentle, almost inaudible voice echoed through the clearing, soft yet cutting like silver through steel. The goddess had heard him. "Her life for yours. Choose." Darius froze, every fiber of his being torn apart. His chest heaved as he considered the weight of the choice: sacrifice himself and save the girl who had become his anchor, his protector, his unexpected salvation, or let her die to preserve his own life, keeping the alpha mantle and the pack intact. His hands trembled over her glowing form, feeling her warmth, feeling the life that seemed to flicker with every heartbeat. Evelyn's eyelids fluttered slightly as if sensing the moment, her lips parting in a barely audible whisper. Darius." The wind howled around the ruined stronghold, carrying the tension like lightning in the night. Every wolf held its breath, every heartbeat echoing the magnitude of the decision. The threads of their bond pulsed violently, threatening to tear apart reality itself if the wrong choice was made. Darius's voice broke as he whispered, I can't live without you." And in that moment, a blinding silver light enveloped them both. The air shimmered, the goddess's ultimatum hanging over their heads. A life for a life, a sacrifice that would determine the fate of both the Alpha and the Null Wolf forever. The silver light that had enveloped them began to dim, leaving a fragile glow around Evelyn. Her eyes snapped open, wide and disoriented, chest rising and falling in shallow, uneven breaths. Relief flooded her, until the haze cleared and her gaze fell upon Darius. He knelt beside her, his powerful frame hunched unnaturally, golden eyes dimming as his energy seeped into her. His once fierce muscles sagged, and his skin paled under the moonlight. Each breath he took was a struggle, each movement deliberate and heavy. The Alpha, who had always been unyielding, untouchable, was breaking before her very eyes. "Darius," Evelyn whispered, her voice trembling, reaching out to steady him. Her hands shook as she felt the life force leaving him, feeding into her survival. She felt a surge of power coursing through her, strength she had never known. But it was tainted with guilt. Every pulse that revitalized her was a hammer to his fading body. Darius forced a smile, faint but filled with unwavering devotion. You're the future. Evelyn, don't let my sacrifice stop you," he rasped, his voice cracking with pain and pride. His hand gripped hers weakly, lingering like a tether that refused to break. Tears streamed down her cheeks as the reality slammed into her. The pack was safe, the rival Alpha defeated, and yet the cost, the man who had become her anchor, protector, and secret hope, was paying the ultimate price. Her chest ached as she tried to reconcile the impossible choice the goddess had forced, one life for another. "Darius, No, you can't. Her scream tore through the night, raw and unrelenting, echoing over the ruined battlefield. Wolves paused mid-step, eyes wide, sensing the emotional and mystical tension crackling in the air. In desperation, Evelyn felt the bond thrumming violently, responding to her panic and refusal. Threads of power lanced between them, unstable and dangerous. She realized that if she tried to sever or reverse it now, she could either save him or doom them both. Evelyn lunged forward, pressing her hands to his chest, desperate to undo the bond. The air shimmered, the world around them warping violently, as her scream collided with his weakening heartbeat. Evelyn's hands trembled as they hovered over Darius's still chest, the bond screaming between them like a living thing. She knew the cost. Every ounce of energy she poured into him drained her own life force. Her oversized frame, once mocked and overlooked, now glowed faintly, a beacon of sacrifice in the cold moonlight. "Darius, you have to live," she whispered, voice cracking. Her palms pressed firmly against his chest, her heartbeat syncing with his fading pulse. Threads of silver energy leapt from her fingertips, weaving into him, stitching together the broken alpha piece by piece. Every pulse from her drained strength from her, yet his chest began to rise with ragged but steady breaths. Darius's eyes fluttered open, golden light returning slowly, a haze of confusion giving way to recognition. "Evelyn?" His voice was hoarse, yet laced with relief and awe. He tried to rise, but her weak grip on his arm stopped him. "Don't move, stay with me," she whispered, smiling through tears. A shiver ran through her body and she stumbled. The energy that once made her an unstoppable protector now burned through her veins. Her vision blurred, colors shifted and dimmed. Every ounce of strength she had given to save him left her weaker, her life flickering like a candle in the wind. Darius's hands flew to her shoulders, his touch trembling. "No, don't. Stay with me." But Evelyn only shook her head, a faint, bittersweet smile on her lips. "Now, you can live. Even if I can't." Her breath caught. Her body softened in his arms, limp and fragile. His tears fell freely, soaking her hair as he held her closer than ever, the weight of love and tragedy crushing the night air. Wolves in the distance howled, mourning instinctively for the Null Wolf whose life had been given to save the pack, and the alpha she loved. The moonlight reflected off Darius's golden eyes, now wide with grief and disbelief, as Evelyn's pulse slowed to a near stop in his arms. The battlefield was eerily silent now. Smoke curled from the remnants of broken pack houses, scent of charred earth and spent magic hanging heavy in the night air. Wolves lay scattered, some tending to the wounded, others kneeling in reverence, sensing that the Null Wolf, the one they had scorned and overlooked, had fulfilled her destiny. Evelyn's chest rose and fell weakly in Darius's arms. Her body, once mocked for its size, now radiated quiet power and solemn grace. Every ounce of strength she had poured into saving him and the pack had left her fading, the silver threads of her energy unraveling like fragile silk in the wind. Darius pressed her closer, his golden eyes brimming with unbearable grief. "No, stay with me, Evelyn, please," he choked out, voice cracking, trembling with fear and disbelief. But her lips curved into a soft, bittersweet smile. "You have to live," she whispered, her hand brushing his cheek, leaving a final warm tear that traced a line down his chest. "Remember why I fought, why I loved." Her voice weakened, a fading echo of the vibrant, defiant spirit that had saved them all. Around them, the pack bowed their heads, a hushed respect washing over the devastation. Wolves who had mocked her, overlooked her, now saw the truth. The Null Wolf was not defective. She was a savior, a vessel chosen by fate itself. The moonlight highlighted her peaceful final expression as her heartbeat slowed, each thump fading until silence claimed her. Darius's hands shook violently as he held her lifeless form, tears mingling with the blood and soot of battle. He screamed into the night, a howl that carried both grief and rage. The rival Alpha, defeated and humiliated, watched from afar, a cold smile curling his lips. The Null Wolf always dies young, and the curse is not over, he murmured, eyes gleaming with ominous foresight. The pack remained frozen, torn between relief, sorrow, and an unspoken fear. If the Null Wolf's death was not the end, what new darkness had been set in motion? Darius lowers his head, pressing a forehead to hers, whispering promises she can no longer hear. Behind him, the moon dims, signaling that though the war is over, the cost of salvation is eternal, and the curse of the Null Wolf may yet haunt the pack and the world forever.